Hi guys, I'm Jeff. I'm the winemaker for Tractor's Vineyard. But if you're already watching this, the chances are you already know that, because this is a tasting for our next club member case that we're sending out. So this is a pretty good fun tasting today, because it's looking at some stuff that we haven't released yet. So yes, as a club member, you know, you get special pre-release specials and little insights into what I get to see that everyone else doesn't. Please drink these wines. So as a club member, I know you get these pre-release specials and you really want to hang on to them and put them in the cellar, but we will be sending these wines out again to you when we release them. You'll also see them way later in many years to come when we release them as museums. And the reason I want you to drink them is because one of the really exciting things for me as a winemaker is watching how these wines develop in bottle over time. And so these pre-release ones, the idea of sending these out so that you guys can get that experience that I get, that no one else normally gets to see, which is seeing how they evolve in those early stages of development. So we have sent you a couple, so you can actually drink one now, save on to one later. We're probably looking at releasing these probably in 6 months' time. Depends a little bit. I taste them regularly to see how they're developing in bottle. One of the big things that I'm sure you've heard about, but we don't talk about as much in those early stages, because these are one of those things that happen behind closed doors, and that is bottle shock. So yes, it does exist. Any winemaker you talk to will tell you it exists. And what bottle shock is effectively I'll take this wine that's in barrel and tank and I make up our blend and we bottle it. And because it gets a shock when it goes into bottle, all of a sudden all the fruit characters just disappear. And then over the next 6 to 18 months, those fruit characters will come back again, and then the wine will be ready to release. During that 6 to 12 month period, I find that those fruit characters are just a bit up and down, up and down, up and down. So sometimes you'll taste them, it really shows them there. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's really interesting to taste the wines in that period, because you sort of can see different flavors highlighted. When those fruit flavors are quite low, you really see the more savory and textural components of the wine, which are harder to see behind the higher fruit levels when they come back again. So that's why I love tasting them in these pre-release fashions, and that's what you guys as club members also get to do. Before I delve into the tasting, I want to remind you guys, you are members, you will get discounts at not just our cellar door, but we also have satellite cellar doors, one of them being here where I am today, which is down in Jervis Bay in Vincentia. So make sure if you are a club member and you're down on the beautiful south coast here, that you let the people know, because your discounts, you do get them down here. The other thing is, please regularly check on our website. I know we've got a couple running at the moment because of the discount levels and how we work, but we are slowly expanding your club membership to include our craft beers and craft alcohols, and like spirits and vodkas and that sort of thing. And then a little exciting announcement that will happen probably in about a month or two. We'll be releasing some of those products, which I know you signed up as wine club members, but you also get a benefit of these other things as we start doing a bit more. But let's get into the tasting. So we're probably going to look at something old first, because we've sold out of our 2015 Nebbiolo. I have held some back specifically for you guys. So the first one we're going to look at is our 2015 Nebbiolo. Now, it is a chance that your bottle may look like this, because it has literally come from my cellar. I didn't hold back enough. And so I've had to raid my own personal cellar so you guys can all have a taste of this. And so please, if it looks dirty on the outside, don't judge a book by its cover, because it still tastes great on the inside. So we're going to look at the 15 Nebbiolo first. One of the first things you'll notice when you pour it, it's got slightly more of that bricky colour, but I love this wine. It really displays what we're looking for in a Nebbiolo. So Nebbiolo originates from that Barolo region of Italy. So usually when you're buying a Barolo in a bottle shop or a restaurant or something, it's made with Nebbiolo grapes. The typical descriptions for Nebbiolo are tar and rose. And that sort of combination of savory and floral, I love that combination. So you always, you don't get that as so much of that sweety, fruity influence, but definitely when I look at all of these wines, that's the first thing I see is that tar and rose. So 15, aging really well. We're sort of looking at, what do we now go? My maths, about 5 years in bottle. Quite often you'll find that Nebbiolos are quite a tannic variety, and they need to be aged quite a long time for that tannin to settle down. We actually use a French winemaking technique similar to our Cabernet, which is called post-ferment maceration. And that's where we leave the skins and the stems sitting with that wine after the ferment's finished for a really long period of time. And if you haven't heard about this, click on one of our other YouTube channels, YouTube links, in particular our Post Mac Cabernet Sauvignon. And I explain the process and why we use it a bit more, but it effectively softens out those tannins for us. So, you know, a 5-year Nebbiolo to me is probably when we would be looking at drinking a lot of these styles anyway. And so to get the softness that we do in these earlier stages, we use this Post Mac maceration, sorry. 15, aging beautiful, shows those beautiful Nebbiolo tarry rosy notes, and I absolutely love that wine. I wish that I was actually tasting that with you, but I have this one bottle left and it's going to go in a pack for one of you guys, and so I don't want to open it. And so that is one that yes, you could savour in your cellar door, in your cellar, because we won't be able to release that again. Literally, the bottles that you guys are getting in your packs this month, they are the last bottles we have. So enjoy it at some stage, sometime special. The great thing is that our next ones that are pre-release Nebbiolos, I actually feel that the fruit level and intensity is a little bit better than the 2015. Like a lot of things, we get to know the vineyard, we get to know the grapes a bit more, which I find that over time we can really hone down our techniques to increase the quality a bit. So the next one we go look at is our 2018 pre-release Nebbiolo. So you will have one of these in your packs. And 2018 was another warm year. Again, we used that post-ferment maceration. The year for me, we didn't quite get the depth and complexity to 17, which we'll be tasting next, but it's still a beautiful year. So this, the 2018 Nebbiolo will go into our standard Creators Series range, which is our $30 range. This shows all those beautiful tar and rose characters of a Nebbiolo, but in a lot more sort of delicate day-to-day drinking style. Soft. One of the things I really love about these Italian styles is it's like a minerality, or it's a textual feel that you get on your tongue, and it's not like a sharp, edgy texture. It's just a light, nice, minerally dusting sort of feeling, and that's what Nebbiolo and a lot of Italian wines, Nebbiolo, Sangiovese, Tempranillo, all those varieties, I see it in them a lot. And one of my wines that I really do love is Sangiovese and Tempranillo, and hoping to get my hands onto some of those grapes in the future, and so we can put them out through the club. Next, we've got our 2017 Reserve Nebbiolo. Now, in 17, just the ripening conditions I found we just got a little bit more depth. And one of the things you will see when you pour it in that glass is it does have a slightly darker color. And just because of the and this is one of the great things about boutique wines is you should be able to taste different years. Like different seasons, different climates are going to create different flavors. You know, the French call this terroir, and as a boutique winery, we want to taste those different years. And it's one of the things that I prefer. You know, my background, as a lot of you know, is consulting to big companies. And one of the things that I find it's challenging, but from a wine drinking perspective, I find a little bit boring, is that the aim of a big company is to make sure that that wine tastes the exact same every year. And so they're pooling on a big blend of vineyards to try and recreate that exact same wine every year. With a boutique vineyard, we want to create a similarity between them because it's all from the same terroir, but we don't want to create the exact same wine because we want the year to be expressed. And 17, I just found we got a lot more depth of flavor to the wine. I also feel that this wine is a wine that actually is going to need a little bit longer because we had that extra depth of flavor. I kept 2017 sitting with the skins a little bit longer to try and extract a little bit more tannin to it. I put it in some slightly more expensive oak. I left it in the expensive oak for a little bit longer. And as a result, the final wine, I feel it's actually probably going to take maybe 3 to 6 months longer than the 2018 before we're able to release it. One of the things you will notice with all the wines, all the new release wines, is when you first open them, you get a lot of those fruity characters. You leave them open for a long time and that complexity will really build up. And my suggested way of tasting these is have one glass straight out of the bottle, decant the rest of the bottle, and then have the rest of the glasses after decanting it over a period of time in the evening. And you'll really see all the different layers of complexity and all the different flavors that that wine has to offer if you drink that wine that way. What I'm looking for as a winemaker when to release these wines is when I can open a bottle of wine and I'll probably let it breathe for about half an hour, and then I can see all those levels of flavors and all those levels of complexity in that glass, and I can consistently see it, then that wine's ready to release. If it's sort of, sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't, it needs to air in bottle a little bit more, or it's a little bit, inconsistent, then that wine is still suffering some of the effects of bottle shock, and so it's not quite ready to release. So they're the things I'm looking for when I'm about to release the wine. So this is our 2017 Reserve Nebbiolo, and you immediately see from that smell, you definitely get a little bit more of that tarry, sort of savory character, a little bit less of that aromatic rose character, and I think that's indicative of that year and that depth of flavor that you're getting in the wines. And you definitely see a lot more of that charry oak and that oak influence in that wine, because I felt that it had the structure and the character to hold that extra oak. So that's our Nebbiolos that are coming out in your pack this time. The next thing we'll look at, I think, in our packs is our Shirazes. Now, I originally was just going to send out our new release Shiraz, but I actually think it's really nice and interesting to have that comparison when you sit down and look at them. And I know you guys probably aren't going to be opening all three Nebbiolos on the same night next to each other, or the Shirazes next to each other on the same night, but of course you can get your friends around and run your own little wine club tasting. So that's why I've decided I'm going to actually include both years so you can do that. So the next one we're going to look at is actually our current release Shiraz. It's our 2015 Shiraz. A lot of you probably already have tasted this, already drink it. If you've heard me do a tasting before, you will know that I'm a huge fan of cool climate Shiraz. I love the structure of it. I love just the delicate way it hands you those flavors rather than throwing you all the flavors at once. And we see all those characters in this 2015. Every time I open this, I love it. I'm definitely going to be drinking more and more of this. 2015, I probably was a little bit lighter on the oak. When I first get a wine from a vineyard into the winery, I have a bit more of a hands-off, gentle approach to the winemaking until I get to understand that wine. As a result, I feel that the 2017 definitely has a lot more of that oak influence. After 15, I understood the oak, I understood what it could and couldn't handle. I understood our winemaking techniques a bit more, and so I threw a little bit more new oak at 2017. I know I don't talk too much about the current release wines, but you can see them on our YouTube channels at any stage. So I'm going to just jump into our pre-releases a bit more. So this is our 2017 Shiraz. This will be released as soon as I get labels for it. This has actually now been in bottle for about 12 to 18 months. I can't remember off the top of my head. So it's definitely had time to settle down in bottle. And you immediately see that similarity to the 15. You get that nice sort of raspberry characters and that dark chocolate and that little hint of spice. But the other thing is you also see it's quite different. It's definitely got that depth, and just like the 2017 Nebbiolo, there's a little bit more depth to the flavors from that year. And as a result, we've added a bit more oak, and you can see that too. It's really interesting. I tried the 17 a couple of nights ago at home, and I was like, oh wow, this is so different to the 15. But now I actually try them side by side. You can tell they're from the same vineyard, they're from the same grapes, from the same region. You know, it's amazing how that terroir really does carry from year to year to year, even with those subtle differences of depth and climate differences and weather each year. You know, I hate to say one wine's better than another, or one child's better than another, but in my opinion, that 17, a lot more depth, a lot more structure, a lot more character to that. Definitely a wine that's going to age, I think, a lot longer. I'm a huge fan of that. I'm amazed, you know, gently, I guess, is my winemaking approach. And once again, seeing that wine now, after settling down after the last 12 months, I think next year, I could actually throw a bit more at it. I could probably give it a bit more time with the stems, extract a bit more tannin, make it a bigger, funkier wine. You know, you don't know at the time. You're always a bit nervous to overpower those natural fruit characters with all these winemaking techniques, but these wines I'm finding, you know, they really can handle it. So that one is ready to release. So it's not like the two Nebbiolos, which are still in that, it's, I guess, that bottle shock stage that I'm working out when I'm going to release it. This wine, it's quite consistent. We're seeing the same results when I open that bottle, and so now we're just waiting for our labelling, and that's our 2017 Shiraz. Next up, we got Cabernets. I know a lot of you guys are big fans of our post maceration Cabernet, which we did in 2015, and a lot of you have been eagerly waiting, because if you've done the 2015 Cabernet tasting on our YouTube channel, you know that I mention our 2017, and that's because I say, you know, I love that cassis capsicum character that you always see in the 15. But for me personally, I wanted to see a little bit more cassis and a little bit less capsicum. And as I have said in my tastings before, in 2016 we let the grapes ripen a lot more to try and get that that more cassis-y berry character. And unfortunately, what it did is it destroyed some of those tannins that you need for when you're doing that post-ferment maceration. And it made softer tannins at that stage that I couldn't polymerize out, and so I couldn't use that technique. So it wasn't to the standard I wanted to do. As such, we didn't release our 16, not under our Tractors label, and we jumped to our 17. So this one first we're tasting is our current release, which is our 15. We've probably got about a week or two, maybe a month worth of stock before this will come back and become a museum reserve, and we'll hold it back only for our club members to get that museum. And our 2017, I would love to release at the exact same time as we stop the 15, but I think it's going to need a couple of months. I don't think it's settled down the way I want it to yet, and so we're going to have a little bit of a gap there. For those of you who's tasted this 15 before, that technique, it gives you that really intense capsicum cassis, and you kind of expect it to have these really hard tannins, but it's got these beautiful soft velvety tannins. And if you want to know more about those soft velvety tannins and how they come about, then check out our YouTube channel, and we talk about that a bit more. So the last wine in our pack is our 2017 post-ferment maceration Cabernet. And I remember tasting this in tank in the winery, and I reckon it's spot on. It's got that beautiful dustiness, a little bit of that formic acid character, that dead ant character that we see in a great Cabernet. It's got more of that cassis-y, blackberry currant sort of characters, a little bit less of that capsicum. It's kind of, this for me has hit the nail on the head. I've used a bit more oak in this one, and it's already looking great. You know, this I can tell now, because I am drinking a lot of this even though it's not released yet, it is very variable. And that's why I was saying it's going to need a bit more time in the bottle to settle down before we release it and we can get that stability. But you guys as club members get to experience that with me. So as I said, remember, have a glass straight out of the bottle, decant it, and then drink out of the, after you've decanted it, have a glass, try and spread them out. So as that wine sits and airs a bit, you'll really see all these different characters. And there's this beautiful sort of dusty note to this that I really love in a Cabernet. It's still got those upfruit fresh fruit characters, and then it's got that beautiful dusty tannin. There's a little bit of a gap in the middle of those more deep, complex fruit characters. And I will say that you will notice when you have your glass straight out of the bottle like this, and then compare it after decanting, you'll see all those more deeper, complex, dark fruit characters come out of the wine. And it's a really good example of what we're looking at when we're waiting for a wine to be ready to release after that bottle shock. And those deep, complex flavors are, I find in the fruit spectrum, the ones that you usually lose with bottle shock. So guys, that's what's coming out in your pack, or you probably already got this in your pack because you've scanned the code and watching me on YouTube. If you have stumbled across this video and you're not a club member, please see what we have to offer. You get great discounts, you get great deals, but one of the things that I love most about the club, and something that we're really trying to work on, is you get this insight into what I love about winemaking. You get an insight into the development of the wines. You know, as I work out my technical skills and we start recording more, we're going to be doing some stuff in the vineyard, we're going to be doing stuff in the winery. It's all a work in progress, but our club members, especially our lifetime exclusive club members, of which we will only ever have 300, you guys will get to experience all of that with us. You will develop this with us. So guys, thank you for being club members. If you're not a member, ask your friend who is. Enjoy these wines, and I look forward to seeing you soon. We probably later this month are going to be releasing a number of tasting events and events around Australia. So I'm hoping that all of you guys, I know we've got a lot of people in Melbourne, I know we've got a lot of people in Canberra and in Sydney. So I'm sort of going to try and take the brand on the road a little bit, and hoping that we can get a lot of you guys and actually get to meet you, because a lot of you I've met like this via Zoom or via YouTube and not in person. So hopefully over the next 12 months we can meet in person. So guys, thanks very much for joining me, and I look forward to another couple of months and I get to show you another huge range of wines. I'll give you a little sneak peek. I was actually in the cellar the other day tasting some of our old Chardonnays, which are looking cracking. So I'm thinking the next club box to come out is going to be at least a range of Chardonnays. So we've got our current release, which is our 18, we've got our 16, we've got our 15, and we've got our, I think, a 13 in the museum range there. And I think that would be a really cool parallel tasting to do for our next club box. So guys, stay tuned. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being club members. Remember, please contact us to learn about all the cool discounts and options and extra things that you guys get as club members, because I'm amazed at how many people are not tapping into those great discounts. So please use them. Feel free to get in contact with us. Thank you for joining me today, and enjoy your wines.